There we go. Hey,
we're live.
What's
Hey,
up,
man?
everybody?
I hope they didn't get that last part.
Just delete all that other stuff. Welcome.
Yeah.
Good morning, mediums,
Really
to another
probably
episode
like that.
of Keystroke Medium. We're all live. This is the season 2 wrap-up special. It's 74 episodes we've had this season. 74. That's crazy.
74 in a row. I don't even know what that means.
I'm Josh Hayes. Scott Moon's over there. Chuck Manley's over there. Welcome to everybody in the live chat. We have no guests today. We will be entertaining you with ourselves and joining.
We're going to talk about
tomfoolery shenanigans.
Shenanigans.
Yep. And believe it or not, contrary to what we said in our earlier Facebook chat, there's no alcohol on this show, at least not on my end. I was going to go to the store, get some bullet bourbon, but I didn't because I had which was probably a smart choice.
Bourbon.
The $37 bullet bourbon you can buy in the airport.
I got a bottle of that for my birthday.
Good stuff.
It's probably my.
It is.
So this wrap up episode, there's so much stuff that happened in season 2.
I'm sorry, Terry. Right out of the gate, most important question: when is TNL coming back?
We were just talking about that.
It's like
We were just talking about it.
The rest of the show. TNL is probably coming back. However, it's not coming back as TNL. It'll be M&L.
M&L. It has a ring to it.
Yeah, there you go.
Potentially going to move to Monday evenings if we can make it work with
the MEL
everyone's schedule. So no promises. Don't y'all get Josh said what and start throwing out there, but possibly M&L.
It's all Josh's fault.
What is
M&L?
If people are in the live chat, why don't you tell us right now, not to be pushy, if you think Monday nights would be good and what maybe a good time is. Keep in mind that we try to convert everything to Central Standard Time, and we're all bad at math. Well, I'm bad at math.
I'm horrible.
Josh and Chuck are right good at math.
We'll put up a poll. How about that? We'll put up a poll on our Facebook group and see if Monday nights work well. Mondays and Tuesdays are generally the easiest days to do it. Scott works all the rest of the days, and so do I. So Mondays would probably be the best days for everything.
I like Terry's response.
All day,
ASM all day,
we
every
should
day.
do a 365, 24/7 live broadcast.
It'd be kind of like
We'll be like the CNN
commune. We could all
of the internet, just
except
24/7.
90% of it would just be looking at my bookshelf with no sound at all.
Or just repeats of the last show.
I'll just pop in every once in a while just to see if anybody's watching. I'm like, okay,
You get to see me
gotta go
typing
now.
and cursing when I'm doing my book marketing. That's all you'd see. A glass in my hand at all times.
That's right. I'm looking back over the videos we did, the interviews we did for season 2, and holy crap, man. 74 episodes.
Let's do a highlight. We'll do a highlight, get organized, and make this.
That's just crazy.
Run like a well-oiled machine.
Well, let's see. We had. I'm just going to look over some of the fun guests we had. Barry Hutchinson, which was one of the most hilarious episodes we had.
Funny, voted most funny of 2017.
That's right. Jack Campbell, CCKK came back to the show. Chuck had his first episode on season 2.
I got 2 because I did.
That's right. You did get 2.
I did live.
That's right.
Of course, the best decision you made this year was, adding to your interviewer roster.
Indeed, it was. Absolutely. With your sultry, deep, podcaster's voice of
Alabama voice.
Welcome to Keystroke Medium.
You're going to do the intro. For season 3, you're doing all the intros. I'm not doing it again. That's all you, buddy.
What else we have in season?
I do like a Good Morning Vietnam thing. Do like the Robin Williams.
Good morning, Vietnam. Except I have a feeling that my voice would crack.
Oh, yeah.
Most of the time.
Guaranteed.
We had some really good TNL episodes too. We had Nick Sansbury Smith on a couple times. We had Hank on. We had Luke Daniels on the 14th episode was
that
Luke
was
Daniels,
awesome.
and he did a great Elmo versus what was that character's name that he was talking about, Scott?
The Cargill.
Cargill. I don't know, but it was out of Richard Fox's Ember War books, this Cargill warrior that sounds like this or whatever it was, and then Elmo, and he went back and forth with him several times. Oh, Dennis E. Taylor was on the show too. He is on par with Michael Anderle for the most viewed show that we have.
Well, the thing about the Dennis Taylor interview was it was like one of his first ones he'd done.
It was
he'd done hardly any others.
He hadn't done any.
We kind of broke him out.
Him.
It was an exclusive, as I'm trying to say.
Yeah, well, for a while he's had several since, but we had him first. Hey. So, what do you think, Scott? What was your favorite episode that you can remember?
Lafayette. It was Lafayette.
Is
the Cargill character in Josh's. And the thing I think is funny is because we were joking that he should do like Shakespeare read by Lafayette. And then I saw on his YouTube channel a couple times where he would then do that. He would read like different dramatic, classic literature as some of his characters from his books. And
right.
So that was awesome.
He's on the short list for narrators for Terra Nova.
Mm-hmm. Good deal.
So we had, out of all the guests, Scott, what do you think? What was your favorite? Do you remember? You have a favorite?
My favorite was Brian Staley's one, I think, but there's a couple since then I really like too. I really like Michael Fuchs. The last one we did, Fuchs.
Right.
Fuchs. Right. I said it wrong. I'm sure that I did.
There's just so many that were good, but I like Staley's because I liked and I can't remember, was that in season 2 or season 1?
Season 2. Well, I think he was in 1 and 2 because he came back for 2, didn't he? No, he was. You're right. I'm thinking of.
I like the story about. Oh, I like the story about the when he was moved to Thailand to write his book, and then he was running every day, and that the monks were mocking him and teasing him as he did his daily runs. That was a great story. I love that story.
I was thinking of David Estes when he said that, because David Estes came back a couple times, I think.
Yeah, he had several, and he did some good ones too. Those are awesome. There's a bunch. I've learned so much from some of them, and I use a lot of the tools that we picked up from our guests. The one I use the most is Tallman. His trick about using the At Read Aloud app to proofread back to yourself. I just used it this morning for about 2 hours because it picks up words that you homonyms and stuff that you use incorrectly, and missing words. It's really good for missing words or double words, like where you type the for some reason.
Right.
And so I've used that tool a ton, or I'll use it to listen back to a story I wrote while I'm driving, just to kind of keep my head in the story. Which for me is a big issue. As the book gets longer, I start getting insecure that I'm like, oh crap, do I have this book? Do I have a handle on these characters? After about 80,000 words. So I learned a lot. Ken McClellan says his favorite was Jasper T. Scott.
Oh yeah, that was a fun episode. Yeah,
that was good too.
What
was yours?
I don't know. I don't know that I had a favorite episode.
It's hard to pick really favorites. I like this kid better than that kid.
Well, I mean, I really enjoyed doing the TNL spots, just because of the different format that we had, and so I miss not being able to miss doing them rather, and hopefully we can kind of bring that back a little bit in season 3. I think some of the most memorable episodes was when we had Nick Cole on, and he was in his car, and he's just a really fun guy to talk to.
Those are always
crazy. You never know what he's gonna say.
Yeah, it's always fun.
Oh,
Big Ben Laura says she liked Gail Z. Martin's episode, was her favorite.
Yeah, that was a fun episode.
Awesome.
And then
David Weber, of course.
David Weber was my favorite.
The longest episode in history, which I think we need to we need to like try to beat that in season 3. Like go for like 3 hours, like a marathon episode, and see what we can do.
I have to have more coffee and snacks to do a 3-hour episode.
Vicky asked what the Read Aloud app is. It doesn't actually work with Scrivener, Vicky. Basically, you could take any text file, whether it's PDF or Word or TXT or whatever, and drop it into the app, and it will read it. So if you like, you can search for.
I actually discovered that if anybody has one of those Amazon Echo things, if you've got a Kindle app on your phone or whatever, and you sideload Moby of your work in progress into Kindle, Alexa will actually read it to you from the. So like I'll be doing housework and she'll be reading my book to me while I'm running around the house doing stuff. It's weird.
Really? I didn't know you could do that.
Yeah, I didn't either. I happened to open I saw that I could like cast to Alexa from my Kindle app. Or no, you go through the Alexa app, but it'll access your Kindle library. And if you sideload your own Moby in there, it'll read it. So I mean, it's a very robotic voice, but it's a good way to stay in the story while you're doing whatever.
You know, I found that because the reader app that I have, and let me show you guys what we're talking about here. It's called Dream Voice, and basically what is this? This is Nathan Heisted's book that's in beta. And so you can select a text file. That's right there. You probably can't see it because the screen is so bad. There we go. Text file.
Yeah.
And then, of course, it's not going to work because my Bluetooth or headset's on. Hold on. Just one thing can work just one time in your life, and that would be fantastic. Okay, so Bluetooth is off. So you go in here, you click on where you want.
September, and as usual, he was overdressed for the heat. He needed to find a better place.
So you have that mechanical voice, and it took me a little bit to get used to it. But once you get used to it and you just listen to it, it sounds like anything else you listen to, and you can pick up.
I actually kind of like the mechanical voice though, because it's almost like good prose is going to have a rhythm to it and a flow that's intended for a human to read, but that mechanical voice can break it up. And when I'm listening to it, it seems to like highlight the flaws, like the and that sort of thing, you know?
And that's a good point. There's a book by an editor named Solstein.
Oh yeah.
And he's a little bit kind of before all this. Some people know who Solstein is, but during his, when he was going to school to be a writer or whatever in New York, think it was, he had this famous writing instructor that they were forced to read their stories back every week in just the flat, most monotone voice as possible, because the theory is that the words needed to do the job. So this is good for that. So this is what I did all this morning. I have the same app here. I'm pulling up my story that I was proofreading. Of course, now it's loading. So I use the @ sound or the @ sign, @read aloud. It works for Androids and all that stuff. So I'll put that in there. And so like this morning, then I would listen to the book.
Sheriff Thaddeus Fry stood near the armored bus he had contracted to move Stacy, White Skull, rings to the spaceport. The Marines, for reasons he didn't understand.
I need to get one that has like a really sexy Australian voice.
Right.
You can with this one you can buy better voices for that, but I'm too cheap and I don't need that. Yeah, you can buy different voices.
I set my Siri on my iPhone to sound like an Australian woman, and we were going to Texas Roadhouse one day, and I said, "Hey Siri, give me directions or give me the phone number to Texas Roadhouse." And so her voice came on, and my wife turns to me and she goes, "That Austrian bitch," and I just started laughing because it was right out of yeah, exactly. I was like, "Oh, put another shrimp on the Barbie," right? And she just looked at me like I was stupid. I'm like, "That was straight out of Dumb and Dumber, and you didn't get it at all."
You should have said, "Siri, tell me you love me," and then you repeated it back.
So I just want to share a couple cool tidbits of information with the show and then with our with you guys, because I don't know if you guys know this yet. So we started Keystroke Medium in April, right? April of 2016, March of 2016.
Right.
So I'm gonna share some stats and give you guys some of our numbers from 16 to 17, and then maybe we can come back in 2018 and talk about it too. So in 2016, total watch time in minutes, 31,845 minutes. People spent watching our show and that was with 4,500 views. So we fast forward to 2017. So I'll give it to you again. Watch time 31,845 minutes in 2016. In 2017, 202,692 minutes watched, and that's just on YouTube. That doesn't count. That doesn't count the audio version of the podcast. And then so views was 4,500 basically, and in 2017 it's 16,000. So everybody that has supported the show and watched and hung out with us over the last couple of years, that's a phenomenal growth.
Thanks.
And I mean, it wouldn't be here for you without you guys watching and listening and interacting with us. Those numbers are huge. It's very, very cool to see how those numbers go up, and I'm really excited to see what they look like in 2018 as well, just because I think we're doing some really cool things.
It's awesome, and we had the subscribe rate too. We used to track how long it took us to hit certain markers or landmarks. What do you call it? Milestones for our YouTube subscribership.
Right.
And then like the first 100 took X amount of months, and then the next one was half as much.
Right.
And when we had the night show, we got a lot more subscribers. So maybe we'll go back to the night show for a bit. Get more people involved.
I think that's actually a pretty good idea, because I mean, I imagine a lot of folks who want to watch are at work right now, and can't really do that.
Yep. And we can drink again, and that always leads to some really good shows.
Now that I've quit my part-times, it's my day off. I can kind of do whatever I want.
That's right.
When I get a lot of writing done after the show, then, but I'm kind of a lightweight.
And Chuck, you started
after an hour
this year, right? I mean, it's only been.
I did. I started. Today's episode was episode 33, and I think I've only missed 1 week. Thanksgiving week, I took the week off and didn't do one. So I don't know how far back that would be. What, 8 months back? So whatever that is, February.
Right.
Yeah, March, something like that. Yeah. Inspired by you gentlemen, actually.
Yeah, inspiring. Yeah. That's what I like to hear.
Inspiring. Hey,
we're
Josh,
actually.
This one's about the show.
Yeah, go ahead, dude.
Go ahead. I was going to say, since this is kind of about the show per se, then maybe we can talk about some of the steps that we had to take. Some people have thought about doing their own podcast type thing. And so like when we first started out, we got on, we used, what was it called? We didn't use Google.
It was Blab.
Blab. We used Blab and we recorded it. And that's gone now. But so we had some progressions and some tech things. We started with different types of microphones. We used Blue Yeti microphones initially. And then we went from to these dynamic microphones as opposed to, what's the other one called? God,
if you hadn't asked me, I could have told you.
It's corduroy? No, that's not right.
That's what it sounds like, but I'm having a blank. But anyway, and that was all through doing research on the different podcasts and what type of mics to use. And we listened to the podcast on Rainmaker.
Yep.
You know what I'm talking about?
The Showrunner podcast.
Right.
The Showrunner podcast, and they gave us some tips about how to avoid crosstalk, which we kind of take that and leave it sometimes. But in ways.
What's that?
Yeah. What are you talking about? Ways to make it a good experience for our guests, and I think that's what has helped is everybody that's been on the show has been very generous in recommending the show to other writers and people. And so our focus really is to help our viewers and our interviewees and to make it a good experience, So I don't know. I think So do you want to break it down on, like, if you're going to start a podcast tomorrow, what would be some things that we, as the three of us, would suggest for people getting started out?
Well, for the sake of not turning this into a how-to podcast, I think that one thing you need to look at too when you start one is don't expect your first episode to be a blockbuster. And because I mean, look at us, we're getting ready to start season 3, so we've been at this almost completely for 2 years now, and our numbers are good, but I mean, they're going to grow. I mean, we barely scratched the surface of our audience and where I think we can take the show, and so it's just a slow progression. And I think, like with the audience that we have, like Vicky and Rick and Ken, Guy and Laura and Kayleen and everybody that shows up every week just to watch and hang out with us. I mean, we've got between 10 and 20 and JR and you guys know who you are. And if I miss some people, I apologize, but you guys are here every week and you support us and you hang out with us, and that's great. When we first started doing this, nobody came and talked to us. I mean, the only people that we didn't even have guests. It was just me and him talking, me and Scott talking. So, but I do want to talk about a little bit about where our show is growing too. Because we just don't do podcasting. We do a whole bunch of other stuff. Oh, hey, Terry. That's right. Terry's here too.
I'm frozen.
But we had covers for a cure this year with Tom Edwards and raised $5,000 almost for Parkinson's research in the UK. We're going to do it again this year. Covers for a Cure 2 hopefully will be around in March. Christian Kalis, is it Kalis? Yeah. Christian,
I pronounce it different each time I say it. Kalis or Callius, I think.
Callius. I think it's Callius.
Right.
But he's going to be doing it. He's going to be providing the covers, and then he has an editor who's going to be providing the editing package. So hopefully we'll be able to kind of share some information coming up on that. It'll be in March, and we don't have a date yet, but it'll be in March, and hopefully we can do the same thing. I think we're going to do diabetes research. I'm not sure if that's.
I'd be down with that. My son's diabetic. So.
Yeah.
It's a huge
deal, and so I think we could do some good money raising for it, and also the award show that we're talking about putting together. I think that's going to be one of the funnest things we do this year. We're talking about presenting live at 20 Books to Vegas 2018. Actually handing out physical awards to physical people.
Yeah, I'd like to have a non-physical person or two there.
Yeah, that'd be a virtual
best ghostwriter
virtual award.
Yeah,
it's something we're on our Amazon page.
Yeah,
yeah.
We need to have somebody come up.
I
with
think
like we could put on the cover. Bap! Keystroke Medium Reader's Choice Award winner 2018 sticker. And that's right, Terry.
Terry Toombs is another reason to go to 20.
If you're dabbling in the idea of going to Vegas next year, let's talk about that for a minute. So Scott and I went, and it was one of the coolest experiences I've had since starting writing, since starting the show. I was kind of leery about it because I went to my experiences
with conferences before.
My experiences with conferences is not like the best, and I haven't been to very many, but we go to Vegas open-minded, and it was a phenomenal experience. And
since I didn't go, let me play interviewer for a minute here.
Yeah, go for it.
What made it such a phenomenal experience? Was it the information you got out of the speakers and stuff, or meeting all the people? Because there's so many podcasts and things out there where these folks kind of give their spiels and give their advice and stuff. So did you get something unique from the conference informational wise, or was it just the networking benefit, or both, I guess?
I think that there was a couple things that I learned, but I didn't go there strictly for that. Only because we get weekly on the show. We get tips and information from a lot of the people that were talking there. So like Michael Cooper was there giving a speech or a talk, and Richard gave a talk, and several other people that we've had on the show gave talks, and I've heard the information, so I already knew it. But the cool, I tell you what, this is going to sound a little bit self-serving, and I don't mean to put her on the spot here. But one of the coolest things was when Kayleen came up and said, "Hi, I'm Kayleen," and I was like, I was not expecting you to be here. She didn't say anything about it. It was very sneaky. And then we met Julie V and
Rick was there.
Rick was there. We actually got to sit with Rick for several of the presentations.
So the FaceTime was like the
meeting the people was really
like meeting our friends.
Yeah.
Meeting new people was cool.
That'd
Meeting
cool.
people on the show was better.
Jake Clifton Slater, who came up when we were doing the post interviews after the conference was over, we talked to a whole bunch of people about their thoughts on the conference, and Jake Clifton Slater came up and said, "I listen to you guys all the time," but he's never been on the live show. So it was neat to have someone come up, and he was very excited to meet us and very gracious and gave us and talked to us for a long time. And but it was very cool to meet people that we talk to all the time but haven't ever met. And so I encourage anybody, if it's in your budget for this year, I mean, the conference is only like, I think they're making it look,
wasn't it?
Yeah, last year it was $99. I think it's going to be like the same, or maybe $5 or $10 more. I'm not sure. It's going to be this
damn cheap for a conference.
The conference was $99,
really
and then
horrible.
Scott, what do? We shared a room, and we spent what?
Right. We were there.
A couple $100.
We got there Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Left Monday in the hotel room where we said it was like $351.
Yeah. So you're talking about under $500 for a weekend, 3 or 4 days to hang out with other riders and meet everybody and
Vegas.
like in Vegas.
And
go ahead.
I learned a lot there. For example, I learned how to play roulette because Josh taught me how to play roulette. I sucked at it. I lost. I basically, and you get free alcohol while you're gambling. So I bought $140 beer is what I like to support it as. So not a huge. It was fun. It's kind of neat. I never really knew that there was that much to it. That was good. As far as with going to conferences, if you've been to more than a few, or if you've watched lots of podcasts like ours or others, a lot of the information won't be brand new, but sometimes you get that one little nugget, or you get a bunch of energy. A lot of people leave these really excited about going to work on their project.
Mm-hmm.
I went to OWFI every year for several years, and every time I would drive all the way home just with big plans for the rest of the year. Same with the Smart Artist. Every time I left there, it's like a 9-hour drive. And I literally would do nothing but think about writing and planning books and just be so pumped up afterwards. So that's a huge thing. Meeting people was awesome. Interviewing people, seeing people's success stories were really good.
Seeing Michael Anderle and Craig Martell wearing our Keystroke Medium shirts.
Yeah, that's a great story. You should tell that story about the T-shirt. When you gave him that shirt.
So I brought these shirts, and I kept trying to get it to Michael because I said I was going to give him one, and I told Craig I was going to give him one. So I gave Craig one, and the one that Scott's wearing. I gave Craig one, and he ended up wearing it. I can't remember which day, but he had it on. I was like, "Oh, look!" And the whole time he's walking up and down stage, and he's doing all this stuff, and he's got our T-shirt on. Well, I see Michael, and he's getting ready to go in for his keynote speech, and I had it in my backpack.
This is at the door.
At the door, I said, "Hey, I want to give you this so I don't forget. Here's the shirt that I told you I was going to give you." And he goes, "Oh, great. Be right back." Turns around, walks to the bathroom, immediately changes shirts, comes back out, and he's wearing our Keystroke shirt. So during his keynote speech at 20 Books to Vegas 17, here's Michael Anderle, who has made $2.5 million on his writing in 2 years. He's the reason this conference is going, and he's wearing our shirt. I thought that was super awesome. And everybody that was there, oh, you guys are great. Love your show and listen to it all the time. And that, there are some weeks where you have your ups and your downs, and there's some weeks where I'm like, is this show doing what we want it to do? And especially when we, like I said, we don't talk to everybody a lot. I talk to Scott every week, but and I try to be active on the group. But I tell you, when people are coming up to you that you've never met, like, oh, I love your show, keep doing it, that was it for me. I like that a lot.
Yeah, I think that brings up a good point. I'm going back to if you're going to do a podcast thing, like my other show, Shorty Shots, I get except for the guys in the chat when they mention it, when I'm doing this show, I get zero feedback. I don't know if anybody is getting anything out of it, right? And I think doing a show like this where you have the live chat and you have your fan base there telling you, hey, keep going, it's great. There's a lot to be said for doing that live recording as opposed to just recording something and throwing it out into the ether and not knowing whether or not anyone's getting anything out of it. So this is a really good format if you're thinking about doing something like that. I also think, though, if you're going to jump into this stuff, start small. Don't jump in trying to do an hour-long show right out of the gate.
Yeah, I think you need to do it for the right reasons too. I mean, we did it mostly because it was fun and were having a good time talking to people. And it, some of it hasn't been that much work compared to other things I've tried to do, like for marketing. It just kind of happened. People had a good time coming on. They told their friends, we get them on the show, and off we go. And it's really neat. So first thing, have fun, because if you don't like it, it's going to be a pain in the butt.
Fun is rule one.
Absolutely. And that's the thing too, is when Scott and I started this show, we had no vision, no idea at all that it was going to turn into what it turned into. And so it's very, very lucky on our end for what happened with the show. And obviously the growth through 2017 has shown that people really, it resonates with people and people like it. And I mean, it brought us some great book contracts. I mean, we're working with Bridget Fox now, and we've got several other things on the table, several anthologies that we were fortunate to be invited to. And man,
we met Nathan Heisted and Woodbridge Press. We've been in several of his, and we met him on the show.
Ken asked how many episodes did we do before anybody showed up, and it's hard to say, because in season 1 we had, I think, 8 or 9 episodes where it was just Scott and I talking, and there was no way to tell anybody that we were talking. And even then, when we
had no social media presence,
none at all. And honestly, I don't think people showed up until season 2. I mean, there was a few, I think, in season 1, but I think season 2 was when people started kind of really hanging out with us, and over the summer, well, probably when we were doing TNL is when people started really showing up and hanging out.
People really started showing up for the live chat. But basically how the progression worked is every author we had interviewed would show it kind of on with their fans, and then we get a little bit more exposure, but it takes a long time to get that critical mass.
It'd be cool.
It's a lot like writing books. I mean, it's kind of the same model. You can't expect your first novel to explode and get out there. You got to get a little bit of a backlist going. I think it's the same way with podcasts. You need something that somebody can come and watch the most current one and go, wow, that was cool. And then they go back, and then that reinforces that tendency for them to go and say, hey, you need to watch this. There's a lot of great stuff there you can see, and yada, yada, yada. It's that start slow and build up kind of thing. But of course, there are the outliers, like that podcast called Lore. I mean, that thing hit and exploded right out of the gate, but that's the super rare one. So if you're going to get into it, you kind of have to approach it the same way you approach writing, manage those expectations coming out the front there.
Yeah.
And I think too, it's funny how much that we've grown in the podcast, because we had Ben Hale on the show last week, so I went back and watched our first episode with Ben Hale and was cringing. And then I go back and I watch our episode with Ralph, our very first interview, and I'm like, oh my God, why did anybody agree ever to come on this show to talk to us?
Well,
what a bunch of crackpots.
I was wanting to talk about that as we go through this, because that's what made it kind of so awesome. Is we had a lot of people that took a chance on us. You know, if we get asked somebody to come on the show now, we send them an email, we talk, however we contact them, and they go look at the website and they go, oh, look, there's, you know, hundreds of people have been on this show now. And it kind of looks like, oh, they're not just some lunatic that's just trying to get me to come on there.
But the
first couple, and some of them were pretty big authors that came on early in the, I mean, we had Nicholas Sansbury Smith and even Peter F. Hamilton was pretty early in the show, comparatively speaking. And so their generosity to come on was amazing. And then we had, you know, those people that were like, oh, I can't do a podcast. I don't talk. I don't do public speaking. We're like, no, come on, it'll be fun. So that's been pretty cool.
Yeah, well, I think this is a very casual show. I mean, it's really just like you say, writers talking about reading, writing, and everything in between. It's not like a hardcore on the spot interview kind of deal. So I think that is a lot more comforting to a lot of people too. And everybody's a writer, you know. It's not like an interview.
Everybody writes and tells stories.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it was interesting when we were talking with was it Michael Foosh, our last guest. We would ask some questions, and he said, "Do really people think this is really interesting?" And that was an interesting comment to me, because that's stuff that we talk about every week, and I don't ever get bored talking about it. I love talking about that stuff. I think one of the
real reason we had to do the show.
Yeah, exactly.
Is because otherwise you'd wear out all your close friends, because they'd be so tired of when you just spread it around lots of people.
You guys are my writing community. I'll tell you that right now.
It's
no one around here gives a damn. I mean,
it's funny when my wife is like, hey, did you have a good writing session today? And I'm like, yeah, it was all right. And that's it. That's the extent of
exactly.
So it's great to be able to talk with other writers about.
Does your wife read your stuff?
No, absolutely not.
You won't do it?
She cannot stand science. She hates science fiction. Absolutely. Every time I put, even like I can't even think of a show right now, but say when Rogue One came out, I played Rogue One on the streaming deal from Amazon. I was watching it. Me and my son were sitting down and all excited about it. And she was like, she came into the room. She said, "What is this crap? What is this?" She won't watch it.
I'm not trying to be mean, but God, that's stupid.
Yeah, no, she hates it. And I am so surprised that she watches Game of Thrones with me. And it took me like a year to get her to watch Game of Thrones. And she saw a couple episodes. She's like, I really like Daenerys. I want to watch the rest of this. And now we watched the entire series, and it's over. I mean, we're still one episode left. And she's going through like DTs, basically. Like, there's no more Game of Thrones to watch.
But but a lot of times, though, I think that people that aren't into that stuff, all they've ever been exposed to is like the really hardcore plot-driven, flashy, like no real character development type sci-fi and fantasy. Whereas Game of Thrones, I mean, that's a character drama. You know, you can say whatever else you want about it. Those are some strong ass characters in that show. And really good sci-fi, like The Expanse, is the same way. And I think if you can get people who aren't really into the sci-fi thing past that preconception that it's all about a spaceship showing up and saving everybody, that they actually get into the characters and can enjoy it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I completely agree with that.
We had a question from the live chat. Ken says, "How did Scott and Josh find out you were both writers?" Tell that story.
Yeah. Do you want to do it, or do you want me to do it?
I don't care. Well, I can tell since you're technologizing.
Technologizing, yes. Scott and I work for the same department, and I can't remember exactly how we got into knowing that we wrote, but it just like happened very organically.
I remember exactly how, because back when I used Twitter, I was at in-service training, and we had it was one year we had hazmat identification stuff, and so you've ever been through this particular form of hell, it's when they don't have any other training. And so they say, this is a hazmat placard. And then they show you the hazmat placard. And then you discuss the 4 colors of the hazmat placard and what number on it. And then you go to the next one. And I was sitting there and I was tweeting stuff about books and stuff. And Josh started tweeting stuff about his books. And we're like, oh, what? Wait, so then we kind of, and after that, I think that's when we started talking about writing.
Yeah.
But I remember sitting there in that in-service training going, oh my God, I got to get out of here.
Well, and I remember you bringing a hard copy of Enemy of Man to me to beta read your first Ken Rolla book. And it was, I mean, now we do everything
the printout.
Yeah. Because now we do everything digitally, but you brought me the whole printout and it was like this thick. And I had ink marks like all that. I remember handing it back to you going, man, I really hope he doesn't think I'm an asshole because I marked the crap out of his manuscript.
It needed some marks,
And but it was, I mean, it's a good book. If you haven't read it, go read it. But then how long has it been? Was it before you started KSM? We met 2012 ish.
Yeah, probably.
I think it was 2012, and we didn't start the show till 2016. So 4 years. 4 years before.
Yeah. We talked a lot about, and we talked about the book stuff for a long time, and then we went a couple of times to the Kansas. What was the writers group here in Wichita? We went to that a couple of times.
Oh, it's just Kansas
Writers Association.
Yeah,
at the library, and then we started doing writing sprints and at the coffee at either Barnes and Noble or Starbucks or different places. We'd go meet for coffee on Friday, and it was like we really look forward to it and stuff. And it's kind of cool because we get some writing done. Sometimes we just talk about books and like browse the bookstore, and make a bunch of ridiculous plans about how we're going to become best-selling authors. And
they were ridiculous, but hey.
You never know.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Rick. Rick says he's reading Enemy of Man on his phone. So,
so Ken wants to know how long from the time you guys met before you started KSM.
I think it was about 4 years.
About 4 years. Yeah. And after we were doing that stuff where we were meeting for coffee and writing, then we eventually tried to do it online because it was just easier because we both have a gaggle of kids and work and stuff and working 17 part-time jobs at a time. And we started doing that. And then I was like, this should just be a podcast. We should just put this out there.
Yeah. And it wasn't anything.
You've done some live writing before that.
Yeah. We did some sprints. We did some, and then when I did the Wormhole short story, I actually streamed my entire writing process for that short story on Twitch, and then it's over on YouTube too. It's on my personal YouTube channel, and doing that actually made me think about setting up the podcast and doing a video podcast. And then we did some sprints together, which was pretty fun. Really quickly though, since we passed our halfway mark and I didn't do the show sponsor, let's do that and then we'll continue on with our shenanigans. I don't have it overlaid this week, but the show sponsor this week is Titan's Wrath by Rhett C. Bruno. It's the final book in his Titanborn trilogy. I think it's the final book. But the blurb, the third book, anyway, it just released. The blurb is as this: 2 men are caught on opposite sides of a violent off-world rebellion in this standalone science fiction epic. It's set in the Titanborn universe. Okay, my mistake. After inciting rebellion against Earth throughout Titan's off-world colonies, Kale Trask learns that leadership isn't only about fighting. Keeping control of his people, even his own family, requires a different set of skills. Following a pivotal battle over Saturn, Kale travels deep into enemy territory under the guise of seeking peace, though peace is the last thing on his mind. Malcolm Graves used to be an infamous collector for a powerful Earth corporation, and then he nearly lost his life on Titan. Now he's retired. But when Kale's wake of destruction follows Malcolm to Mars and claims the life of a friend, it's time for the ex-collector to dust off his pulse pistol and leap back into the fight he thought he'd left behind. The solar system solar system divided, heroes are few and short-lived, but someone has to put the self-proclaiming King Trass of Titan in his place. It's 99 cents right now, so if you're watching live, follow that link and pick up the book for 99 cents. If you're listening on the feed, I'm not sure how long it will be 99 cents, so the sooner the better. Go and pick it up.
Today's the last day.
Today is the last day. Okay.
Well, I'm pretty sure it is.
Go today, then Monday. Ready, go, and that's Titan's
sure
Wrath.
Or maybe I could be wrong. Either way, Rhett's a good guy. He really does a lot of supporting of the indie community. He's part of Sci-Fi Bridge and all that. So a very interesting. He's been on the show. That was a good one too.
It was a very fun show. And Guy, since we're talking about sponsorship right now, he's asking, "What are the how do you sponsor a show?" Which is a fantastic question. You can send us an email, keystroke.medium@gmail.com. In the subject line, say something about the show sponsorship, and send us your book details, and we'll send you an invoice. And bada bing, bada boom, you will be a show sponsor. I can send you the pricing information for packages and whatnot on when we'll reply to your email. But keystrokemedium@gmail.com is where you email that to.
And it's super easy and super affordable.
That's right.
I will say that as someone who's done it.
Yeah, dude. When you set up your it was your second sponsoring package, I think. You set it up and you were like, I want 5 shows. And
I did. Just break them up any way you want, spread them out. Just
Yeah. So yeah, send an email there. I'll send you the invoice and the prices for the packages, and then you can choose which package you want. And
let's talk about money for a second, because that's something we don't really cover. This show is, we've never been the hat. Yeah, we'll get to the hat in a second. This show is not about making money for us. We don't make money on the show. It's all out of pocket. We started doing the sponsorships. They're extremely affordable right now, just to kind of try and cover the cost of like the website. And we have the Podbean. That's another expense. We have some editing tools and stuff we have to have for all the nice posters Josh makes and some of the mixing stuff and just some different things. So it's not, it's not hugely expensive, because we're not trying to dominate the podcast world, but there are some expenses. And so we started doing that, and it's kind of hopefully it's a win-win. We do the sponsorship. They're evergreen advertisements because the podcast is staying up forever. And hopefully, you get people seeing your episode a year later might still be buying your product or something. But the main thing is like I said, to illustrate this better, is we could have plastered our own books all over the Keystroke Medium webpage and stuff like that, but we don't. If you want to look at and we haven't even updated it. If you want to look at our books that we've written, there is a page on the Keystroke Medium website, but you got to dig for it.
Yeah.
And we had some debates as whether we should be pushing our own stuff more or not, but we just didn't. And I think that's probably the right decision. And
I agree.
if people really want to see it, then they're going to see it. Or if they want to go look at our books, we talk about them from time to time. But so that's the thing about the sponsorship. It's so we can keep the show running, and it's hopefully to give people some visibility that they can do a ongoing promotion that doesn't cost them freaking a fortune, like some of them do. So,
yeah, some of them are pricey. Some of them get pricey for sure.
Anyway,
real quickly, I want to talk about another way to get your name or your product or your business in front of potential readers or listeners or viewers. For the award show, which we will have more information here at the beginning of the year, but we are setting up a sponsorship specifically for the award show. There's some costs involved in doing physical trophies, getting custom engraving done and that kind of thing. And so that is stuff that we need to defray some of those costs, because it's not super duper expensive, but it's a lot of money that you know, we have other things that we need to pay our money for. It's a lot of money that we just don't have to drop up front. So there are going to be different tiers for sponsorship for the award show. There's going to be $100 tier, a $50 tier, a $25 tier, and I think a $10 tier. And we will be, like I said, setting up more information on that and how it's actually going to work. Obviously, for $100, you're going to get your name or your logo pretty much on everything that we're presenting, putting together for the show, and then the $10.
We'll be mentioning our award sponsors pretty liberally as we build up to it, and it's going to be like an all-year build-up type of thing.
Yeah, so our plan is that we're gonna try to kick this off in January at some point for nominations. Those nominations will be wrapped up and done by August. Then we'll have voting for the top 5 in every category. Once voting closes, voting will be open for a month. Once voting closes, then we will start the process of ordering and getting the trophies made, and then hopefully present those to the winner. And if you're not at Vegas 2018, then that's okay. We'll mail it to you. But we're going to video it. We're going to show it live on our channel, as well as having it in person in Vegas. So that's how we're going to do that. We'll have more information here coming up in the next couple of months on how to sponsor and what those levels are and what they mean. Yes, you can sponsor the award show anonymously, Terry, if you would like to do that. I
figure out a way to make that happen.
I can't remember if we have a donate button on our website. I thought at one point I thought we did. It doesn't look like we do anymore. We'll probably put one up just so if people want to donate or they want to do something for the show and they don't necessarily want a sponsorship spot or anything like that, they can do that. We'll set something up. We'll let you guys know about it. So if you want to give us all your money, there's a way to do it.
We encourage it.
Well, yeah, we encourage you giving us money.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm really excited, but I'm really nervous about the award show because there are a lot of moving parts to this. As we've done our group chats and putting these things together and deciding the categories, how to do that and how to deliver them. We have Richard out in Vegas is going to donate his garage so we can ship all these trophies to put them there. And then we have to work it into the 20 books schedule, because we can't afford to go rent an entire venue just for ourselves at this point. But
well, even beyond the financial aspect of it, I mean, we're really going to have to tap the community to get nominations and voting, and so that we've got a good pool of. But
and the more input and participation we get, the better it's going to be for everybody, especially the writers involved. They're going to win. So.
Well, I'm super excited about the award show. I think out of 2018, I think that's one of the coolest things. That's one of the biggest things I'm looking forward to.
That's the most outside of our comfort zone we're going for a while. That's definitely way outside mine. But we did have one other thing that we were looking about in 2018 that we haven't talked about yet, and we're going to maybe give a sample today because we've been pushing the idea of a 1-star review show.
Yes.
And several of our guests have had hilarious 1-star reviews. So having said that, Josh has a 1-star review. I think he should share with us. And then we'll talk about it a little bit. I've already given mine because my 1-star review thing is just of somebody who left a review that said nope. And so I found that amusing. Found it very amusing. But so tell us about your most recent 1-star review experience and how did it make you feel inside? As a person.
As a person.
How did that make you feel, Josh?
So this 1-star review is on Terra Nova. It's the only non 5-star review of the book, and it's a doozy. So the title of this 1-star review is "Give This One a Pass." This book failed to keep me interested. The plot is overused, unimaginative, and boring. This book is like a late night movie, the kind that is so boring with actors that can't act and having booby shots just to get an audience. Any audience.
Booby. See, that makes me think he's like
Booby.
like 13. You know, he said booby.
Yeah. What's crazy is there's no booby shots in Terra Nova at all. At all. I might have to go put some in for Bloodline.
Well, and then so we talked about this one, and usually, you know, everybody that's a writer has gotten those bad reviews that you're like, oh, even if they're ridiculous, they just like cut you, they just cut your soul out. Yeah. But when you look at this particular reviewer's other reviews, he gives everything a 1-star review. Every good book you've ever read, he's giving it a 1-star review.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just so ridiculous. It strikes me up.
Hopefully,
it's good time. So
hopefully I'll figure out the technical aspects of recording, because what we're going to try to do is record them off air and then put clusters of them together and then put them up for you guys to watch. Our original idea was to maybe do a Patreon page and have that be like a $1 level on Patreon, but apparently there's some nasty things going on with Patreon right now, and a lot of people are upset about it, so I don't know if we're going to do that. We might just do it for free. But
just do.
You know what? Fafa Big Ben here says it's like reading the mean tweets thing. Maybe we should do like dramatic readings of them. Not just read them, but like really, like they do on that show. I forget, is it Kimmel? I think they do that. I don't know which one of the night shows it is. They do the read the mean tweets thing.
Here's what I think should happen. I think Josh should dress up in his Captain Picard Borg suit that he had that one time.
He should just do that for every show. What are you talking about?
Dude, do you know how my face was like not right for like 5 days after? Okay, so some of you guys don't know, I did a Star Wars versus Star Trek Family Feud thing. It never aired. We recorded for like, I don't know how long, 6 hours to do this show. There ended up being a little toddler running around making a whole bunch of noise. The Star Wars team was just being ridiculous. So the whole thing basically got shit canned. Well, I was Star Trek, so I became Locutus, Captain Picard with the little Borg thing on his face, and the Borg mask that I ordered from Amazon was like a plastic mask, like a rubber mask that you would pull over for Halloween. It looked ridiculous. It looked nothing like Picard. And so my idea was I'll just cut the Borg implant out and then glue it to my face. Right. So I got this makeup glue, and so I put this bald cap on. We glued the bald cap down, and then my wife goes through the process of gluing this thing on my face. Right. Well, it kept coming off, so I kept putting more glue on, and kept sticking.
So, always a good decision.
So, by the end of the shoot, like the mask is like hanging off my face. There's like red, irritated marks everywhere because my skin is just inflamed by this glue. By the end of the shoot, I pull it off, and it literally, I go from Locutus to Two-Face from Batman, and it's just like all over this side of my face, just ridiculous, sticky. I couldn't get it off. Yeah. So I've got the Star Trek shirt somewhere around here. I've got it. Now the mask, that probably won't happen again.
That's a great story.
I've learned my lesson. So I think one of the things we could do for the audience is maybe this week, maybe I'll do it here after the show. I'll put up a comment, I'll put up a post and tell us what episode was your favorite, or what have you gained or learned from the show this year. Let's do this. Let's do what first drew you to the show, and then what was your favorite takeaway from this season. I'll put the show, the post up on Facebook here after the show. What show did you come in on? How did you find out about us? What drew you to us? And then what was your biggest takeaway?
And which show made you pee your pants?
Yeah. Which is laughing. All of them. I mean, they should be.
Pretty much.
So I know we've got guests booked out into 2018. So going forward, are there any names that folks might recognize?
Let me look at the calendar. Well, okay, so next week, this is our wrap-up show this week, but we actually have one final episode of season 2, and that is next Monday. That's a cover artist named Jamie Glover. He's working with Ralph on several things. The first guest that we have lined up in 2018 is Emma Savant. We met her at the conference in Vegas. She's a YA fantasy author, but really has some really cool ideas on YA fantasy. And she got pulled up on stage by was it Brian Cohen or Chris Fox? I can't remember which.
It was Brian Cohen.
Talked about her books, had some really cool ideas about the books and the magic system. We've got Stephen Allen, who is another fantasy author that we met there. I've got a whole list of them here. And now I'm having trouble finding where I wrote them down at because I haven't added them to the calendar yet. Jay, what's his name? Jay Truby, who teaches fiction. We're gonna have him on for a series.
That'll be good.
Of how-to shows, and I don't know where the rest of the list is.
Did you ever reach out to Schaefer?
I have sent the email. I haven't heard anything back.
Okay,
so we'll see. But that's also a good comment. A couple lined up from the conference. But if you have guests that you'd like to see or you'd like us to talk to, let us know.
Or topics.
Topics or whatever, because we're going to be another different thing that we're going to be doing in season 3 is we're going to be doing one of these episodes where we just kind of talk and it's just us every month. It'll be a little bit more directed than it was today, just because it was just kind of a
today.
Why? Because I said so. So we're going to be doing that. Joseph, wait for it. I think Scott's I think he's like a half a second behind us today.
I think he is. It's just a little off.
Pretty much.
He's a little off anyway, but
a little
off. Well, you've got a little bit of that Japanese subtitle thing going, where your lips are moving, but then the voice starts.
And then he's not saying anything.
Oh, I forgot to put my
overlay.
I didn't put my overlay up today.
The whole show with no overlay. What a failure!
You guys have to do it over again.
Complete loser.
Redo.
That's it. I'm getting kicked off the show.
So, all right. Oh, I just want to plug. I want to plug Chuck's show, Story Shots. If you haven't listened to Story Shots, give it a listen. You can get to it through our website or search it on Google. Story Shots by Stephen Manley, which is his uppity author name. Also,
we call him Chuck the Man.
We call him Chuck the Man Chuck here on the show. Also, check out Author Stories with Hank Garner. Phenomenal show.
Phenomenal.
We are actually recording some more Keystroke Minutes after this episode, and so you can check those out on his podcast. And yes, JR, I am still trying to figure out how we can do call-in messages, either live or recorded, and see if we can play those on the show and answer them.
That'd be cool.
That'd be a neat little feature.
That'd be a neat improvement there.
Yeah. So
the original, I was going to say the original KSM or TNL, original TNL. Gosh, I'm dyslexic.
Yeah,
was basically a topic-based show with just predominantly with your hosts here, the three of us, and Ralph, the four of us.
Yep.
But we started getting so many guests, we put them on there too. So if people are interested in a topic-based podcast type thing, then we can do some more of that, I think.
Absolutely.
I think that was good.
I'd be down with that.
Like that.
What do you think, Chuck? You down with that?
I'm always down with that.
Down like a clown.
Should be doing
in a town.
And Ralph's not here today because we always do shows when it's like 1 a.m. where he's at and he's working. So
right. Well, he's working the night shift right now. So let's
safe.
Let's wrap it here, guys. And I am very grateful for everyone that's hanging out with us. Very grateful for you, Chuck and Scott, for dealing with my shenanigans and helping make this show what it is. Without either of you two on the show, it would just be me standing here looking at the camera like a deer in the headlights, like,
not having any problems or technical difficulties.
Yeah.
Well, I want to say I'm
That's mostly
very
what we're
grateful
doing.
to you guys for bringing me into the fold. This is a big highlight for me. So thank you for that.
We are
Love this show.
happy
Love
to have you, man. It's you bring so much to the show, and as does everybody else that comes and hangs out with us. If it wasn't for you guys, it wouldn't be so much fun. We'd probably do it,
Absolutely.
but it wouldn't be hardly any
We'd
fun
be a
at
lot
all.
drunker.
Yeah. Just hit the keyboard. Just hit the button.
Welcome to Keith Drunk Medium. We're gonna talk about some stuff.
Hold on a second.
All right. Well, we're gonna cut this show short.
Watch this. Oh my God.
Thank you guys for hanging out with us in 2017. Hopefully, you will come back and hang out with us in 2018 if we haven't kicked you off the show. And
This didn't kill it.
Yeah, we're gonna have some great things coming up in 2018. The sponsorships for the award show, covers for Cure 2, and of course some great guests and great events happening. So thanks everybody for coming and hang out with us, and we will be back next week with Jamie Glover. We're going to talk about some writing, we're going to talk about some reading, and of course everything in between right here on Keystroke Medium. See ya.
Bye.